Sima, this is how 8051 microcontroller looks when it has been introduced by the Intel. 8051 is the most widely used microcontroller and is being introduced by Intel, whereas 8086 microprocessor is also being introduced by the Intel only, and 8051 microcontroller is also being introduced by Intel itself, and this is how it is going to look. And coming to its features, 8051, it is available in 40 pin package. It is available in 40 pin dip package. That means it is going to have 40 pins, whereas 8086 is also a 40 pin microprocessor and 8051 is also a 40 pin microcontroller. And this 8051 microcontroller is a 8-bit microcontroller. It is a 8-bit microcontroller. That means it can work only on 8 bits of data at a time. 8051 microcontroller can work only on 8 bits of data at a time. Whereas if we talk about 8086 microprocessor, 8086 microprocessor is a 16-bit microprocessor. 8086 is a 16-bit microprocessor, but 8051 microcontroller is a 8-bit microcontroller. And next, it has 16 address lines. It has 16-bit address lines. That means if you compare this with the microprocessor 8086 microprocessor, 8086 microprocessor is having 20 address lines. It is having 20 address lines. But 8051 microcontroller, it has only 16 address lines. And as I told you, microcontroller will come up with some internal memory. So it is having 8051 microcontroller. It has 4 kilobytes of on-chip ROM. It has 4 kilobytes of on-chip ROM. On-chip ROM is also called as program memory. On-chip ROM is also called as program memory, and it has 128 bytes of on-chip RAM. Try to understand the difference between these two. One is ROM, whereas ROM size will be 4 kilobytes, and another one is RAM, and the RAM size is 128 bytes. One is 4 kilobytes and another one is 128 bytes. ROM, read-only memory, is also known as program memory. On-chip ROM is also known as program memory, whereas on-chip RAM, random access memory, is also known as data memory. I am repeating once again. On-chip ROM is also known as program memory. On-chip RAM is also known as data memory. So what exactly this program memory and what exactly this data memory is? See, program memory is a place where your programs are going to be stored, where the internal programs or the inbuilt programs are going to be stored. And coming to the data memory, where data memory is the one which the end user will be accessing. Whatever the thing that we are doing with the computer, that everything will be stored in the data memory. You do understand all kinds of the things. OS is nothing but it is also a set of program only, right? So that everything will be stored in program memory, and the things that you are doing with your computer, say for example you will be opening Word, you will be opening Google, you will be doing so many things. So all these temporary, these things are called as data, and all these things will be stored in RAM. That's the reason ROM is called as program memory and RAM is called as data memory, where RAM is going to be used by the end user. Whatever the end user do with the processor or do with the controller, that everything will be stored in RAM. Whatever the inbuilt programs will be coming up with the processor, those will be stored in program memory, or it is also called as on-chip ROM. So 8051 has inbuilt ROM of 4 kilobytes and it has inbuilt RAM of 128 bytes. And as it has 16 address lines, it can access 2 power 16 memory at a time. externally. That means 2 power 16.
Your voice is fluctuating.
You can externally add 64 to the mobiles which when the touch screens or the smartphones. Can you listen to me clearly?
No, ma'am, it was somewhat fluctuating. Now it's fine.
Guys, are you following?
Once again, definition of
Yes,
source.
ma'am.
Yes, ma, are you following?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, ma, what are you asking for?
Data memory definition.
Now you're asking for something. What is that?
Data
Ma,
memory.
can I continue?
Yes, we'll continue.
Data memory computer, when you buy a computer, you can't take it as it easily your home, and you can't run it as it easily. When you buy a home, there itself there are some softwares which are to be the computer starts turning on and you can work on it, isn't it? Did you observe? Tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
So whatever the things that are being installed, and they are one-time installers, that means you people cannot install them. Only the experts who are experts in that, they only can install those particular programs like OS and etc. and etc. So those particular things will be stored in program memory, which cannot be erased, which cannot be edited by the end user. All those things will be stored in program memory. That nothing but ROM. And coming to the RAM, whatever you are doing with your computer, you will be storing your images, you will be storing your what we call videos, you'll be storing your MS Office data, etc. Whatever you are doing with your computer, that everything will be stored in data memory. Inbuilt programs which were required for the processor to turn on or to work properly, all those things will be stored in program memory. And the things that you are doing with your computer, you will be storing images, videos, some word documents, etc. Whatever you are doing, everything that will be stored in data memory. Are you clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So program memory, it will be coming up with inbuilt 4 kilobytes of program memory and 128 bytes of data memory. Apart from this, you can even connect the external memory also. How much external memory you can connect to 8051 means it depends upon the number of address lines. 8051 has 16 address lines. That means 2 power 16. 2 power 16 is nothing but 64 kilobytes. That means you can connect 64 kilobytes of memory externally to the 8-bit 8051 microcontroller along with those internal memory. This is very similar to when the smartphones have come into the picture. They used to come with only small amount of internal memory, and they'll be providing a slot in order to connect the external memory card. Can you people recollect that?
Yes, ma'am.
There will be a provision for the memory card, so that externally you can connect your memory card. If your mobile internal memory is completed, then you used to make use of that memory card, external memory card. Can you recollect that, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
So that is nothing
Yes,
but in
ma'am.
that way, that is how you can connect. That means 8051 is providing that particular that particular provision to the end user. That means 8051 microcontroller, even though it is coming up with some internal memory, it is giving a provision for the users that if the internal memory is not sufficient, you can connect your external memory also. How much external memory you can connect? It cannot take how much you want to connect it. It has some features based on the address lines that it is supporting. Just a second, ma. Yeah. Sorry for the disturbance, ma. So in that way, even though it is coming up, even though 8051 microcontroller is coming with inbuilt memory, even the end user can connect the external memory based on the feature of the 8051. So in that way, end user can connect 64 kilobytes of external memory. And next, it has 32 bidirectional IO lines. It has 32 bidirectional IO lines. IO lines is nothing but, see, whenever we are using 8086 microprocessor to the 8086 microprocessor, if you want to connect any device, that device cannot be directly connected to the microprocessor, because microprocessor, ma, can you listen to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. If you want to connect any device to the microprocessor, between that particular device and between that particular microprocessor, you need to make use of one device called as interfacing device. So you need to connect your device to the interfacing, whereas that interfacing device can be connected to the microprocessor. That means directly you cannot connect your external devices to the microprocessor. In between, you need to make use of interfaces. It is just like, see, whenever you are trying to connect your printer, when you try to connect your printer to the computer, we can't connect it directly to the computer. We need to make use of RS-232 cable, whereas in that particular scenario, that RS-232 cable is acting like an interface. Are you following this example, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
So in that way, microprocessor, it does not provide us the direct connection to give external connections. But this 8051 microcontroller, it is providing 32 pins. It is providing 32 pins to which you can connect your external devices directly to the microcontroller. And these 32 pins, they have been segregated into 4 IO ports. About this IO ports and this segregation, you will have a clear clarity when I am discussing about the pin diagram. As of now, just remember that it will be providing 32 pins. 8051 microcontroller, out of 40, 32 pins are meant to directly connect the external devices, because those two pins are nothing but the IO pins, input and output pins. And next, this 8051, it has two timers. What is timer and what is counter, I'll explain in detail later. As of now, remember that 8051 has two counters, whereas each counter is of 16 bit size. 8051 has two counters and each counter is of 16 bit size. And next, it is having 8-bit stack pointer also. 8051 is also having 8-bit stack pointer, and it has two external and three internal interrupt services. It has two external and three internal. Totally, it will be supporting 5 interrupt services. And one thing with 8051 microcontroller is that it is not going to support EPROM, electrically programmable random read only memory. EPROM. It is not going to be supported by the 8051 microcontroller. And the last feature with 8051 microcontroller is that it the clock frequency for this 8051 microcontroller should be of 12 megahertz. The clock frequency for 8051 should be of 12 megahertz. So these are all what about the features of 8051 microcontroller, ma. Guys, are you clear with the features of microcontroller?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.